And I was put in charge of a task force which was around purpose, values and behaviours.
Oh.
And so it must have been the universe delivering. And my only sort of understanding about leadership was, I suppose, intuitive.
Welcome, John.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
John, thanks for coming in. We are recording this series called For Purpose Podcast. And this series is to invite leaders with purpose and leaders driving for purpose organizations. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea is to bring the leaders in and have a chat around purpose.
Yep.
The good, bad, and the ugly.
Yep.
And I would love, before we get into the specific purpose questions, I would love for you to give a brief description of your background, experience, and life, and how has your purpose evolved across?
Thank you. So my background experience for over 30 years, I was a lawyer and a projects lawyer, finance lawyer, and I was lucky enough quite early on to be given leadership roles. And what I found was in around about 2005, I was running a really happy team of about 20 people in an organisation which itself was dysfunctional. And as I look back on it, I think it was dysfunctional because there wasn't a common purpose. Mm-hmm. There were 27 partners in this law firm. I was one of them, and they just didn't and couldn't agree on why they were there and what the firm was doing. And so I was very lucky. We tried to solve this problem and tried many things, but at the end we brought in a lovely lady from Deloitte Consulting called Jen Morris, and we spent 6 months with her sitting, looking and at 12 sort of different factors in the firm and 12 task forces. And I was put in charge of a task force which was around purpose, values and behaviours.
Oh.
And so it must have been the universe delivering. And my only sort of understanding about leadership was, I suppose, intuitive, and also what I'd read in books by Professor Jim Collins from Stanford University called Good to Great and Built to Last. And the thing I took away from his books were it was all about getting the right people, the right cultural fit on the right seats with a common purpose, and then the bus would find its way along. And so in that task force, what we did was start with a sort of top-down, bottom-up approach of finding a purpose, developing values, and really importantly, developing the behaviours that support those values. And I think back in sort of 2005, all organisations said they had values, but they were sort of wallpaper, and we went much deeper. The other task force I was in charge of was one around partnered mission advancement and remuneration. And traditionally in law firms, the partners who bring in the most money get the most money. And we sort of turned that on its head and looked at a number of different factors that would make a good partner. And the number one factor being how they treated people. And we factored into that an assessment of the partners, an anonymous assessment 360 of their living the values, and made that a really important part of the assessment. And I can remember back at the time a lot of partners going, well, where's my natural justice? I should be able to confront my accuser, and which wasn't the point it was about. And anyway, after sort of those task forces, Jen, the lovely lady from Deloitte, one day said to me, look, the only way this firm's going to succeed is if you get rid of your previous managing partner and you become the managing partner. And I went home to my family and said, well, this isn't really on my menu, but maybe. And they all said, well, do it. And so I went back to my partners and said, yes, I will do it, but I want to do it full time. I can't practice and look after clients and, change the organisation.